There are just some things you should never say when it comes to autism. I've got 5 things in particular you should never say to autistic people. Here we go. Well, hello into people, how are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well, and if you're brand new to my channel, I talk about autism on a weekly basis, trying to break misconceptions and just have a general discussion. And if that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. Now, the thing is with this list, it's basically things that are seen as ignorant, lacking understanding, and the first thing you should never say to autistic people is, but you have a job. If you've got a job, how can you be autistic? You can't be autistic if you've got a job. I think when it comes to being autistic and finding work, yes, it can be really difficult. And then when you're in a job, it can be quite difficult to maintain that job, especially with the social side of things, maybe the sensory side of things, if there's a lot of noise. But just because someone is autistic doesn't mean they can't work. In fact, I work 40 hours a week in an office job. The reason I'm able to do this, and do it quite well, I must admit, is because I've had a lot of preparation. You know, I've been to interviews, hundreds of interviews in fact. I've learned how to answer questions appropriately, and then once I've actually gotten into a job, I've had to learn all of the skills to be able to do that job effectively and do it just like anyone else would. Yes, it did take me longer to learn some of the skills in order to do my job correctly and effectively, but I did learn those skills, and I think that's the key thing. I think if an employer is accepting and understands that someone is autistic and they may need accommodations in order for them to do their job effectively and correctly, then it's an employer's responsibility to do that and be able to help that person if they are struggling with something or just need a little bit of guidance, you know? But to say that autistic people can't work, just point blank, no autistic people can work ever, is just not accurate. The second thing you should never say to autistic people, and this one is something I've heard quite a lot.
Back in my day, there was never such a thing as autism.
I hate to burst people's bubbles on this, but this is not true. I think the reason why people say this, especially the older generation, is because autism was not really talked about. You know, there wasn't really a lot of awareness about autism at the time, you know, back 20-30 years ago. Whereas now there's a lot more talk about it, especially online. You know, there's a lot of advocacy work done by autistic people and, you know, parents of autistic kids and stuff. You know, there's a lot more going on in terms of autism and speaking about autism, you know, people talking online openly like I am at this present moment in time with my YouTube channel. And I think this is one of the reasons why there are more people getting diagnosed as autistic, because people are recognizing the signs, thinking they could be on the spectrum, and, you know, getting referrals to autism specialists and things like that. So this whole thing about back in my day, I just think it's just stupid, to be honest. I just don't agree with it. There's more public awareness about autism these days and it's being talked about more. I think that's one of the reasons why we're talking about autism more, and there seems to be a growth in autism diagnosis and all of the rest of it, really. The third thing you should never say to autistic people is, do you take pills for that? Now this one might seem a little bit strange, but it was one of you guys who commented on one of my previous videos talking about how they had an interaction with someone and they said, oh, do you take pills for your autism? Now, in regards to taking pills for autism, there's no such thing as taking pills for a neurological condition. However, if an autistic person is really struggling with their anxiety, like they are crippled by anxiety, they may need to take medication in order to alleviate that anxiety or help manage their anxiety a little bit better. Or if you didn't know, some people on the spectrum really struggle to sleep, like they have a sense of insomnia. And I don't know the medical stuff behind it, but it seems to be quite a common thing, you know, autistic people struggling with sleep. So in that regard, someone may be given pills in order for them to be able to sleep. So those are just some examples, but just generally, you can't take pills to suppress someone's autism. You know, if someone has a trait or a few traits that makes their life unbearable, or they're less able to do stuff for themselves, or whatever the case may be, you know, they may need to take medication for whatever the reasoning behind it is. Fourth thing you should never say to autistic people is, are you sure you're autistic? Because damn, you are pretty. I mean, you're absolutely drop dead gorgeous, so you can't be autistic. Oh, I'm cringing inside. Oh. Now, I must admit, I am a gorgeous guy. I mean, look at my face. I am beautiful. But just because someone is absolutely beautiful in terms of appearance doesn't mean they're not autistic. Because like I said previously, autism is neurological. It's all to do with what's in here, not what's around everywhere else around the body, you know? So I don't really understand why people say this, but to be honest, it is kind of offensive to say that just because someone is pretty in terms of appearance that they can't be autistic. I just think it's stupid. I just think it's really, really silly. This whole thing about how someone appears and how someone looks in, you know, in relation to autism, I just don't, there's no link between the two. That's all I'm trying to say. And the fifth thing you should never say to autistic people is you are incapable of understanding what others are thinking, feeling, and saying. Literally, you are incapable of understanding people. Says the person who says something equally as hurtful to someone on the spectrum. This statement is all to do with understanding how people are feeling and thinking and all that stuff. It's kind of relating to empathy and things like that. But this one, I think it is just understanding that, yes, some autistic people may not be able to understand how someone is feeling. Maybe because we haven't experienced it, or, you know, we don't know what feeling we are experiencing, or we don't know what the other person is experiencing. So how can we understand what the other person is feeling if we don't know what they're feeling? So I think the key thing for this one is, yes, we may not give the appropriate reaction, but we do understand how you feel, you know, if you're not on the spectrum. Like, yeah, we do understand emotions and feelings. Sometimes we just might not know what that feeling is or how to express that feeling, because it's just like, feelings and emotions are just weird, to be honest. But to say that an autistic person is like a robot is offensive, because we do feel things, and sometimes we do feel things more intensely, and we are sensitive to other people's emotions. I think it is that whole thing of understanding what we are actually feeling, because it can be a little bit tricky sometimes to actually pin a word down for it. I know I have trouble with that sometimes. If you want more of these videos, I did make a playlist which will be up there. Go and click it right now if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this. But for now, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button so I know, subscribe to the channel if you are brand new and you want more. Stay you, stay indie, have a great day guys, and I'll see you all next time.